My June TBR is here and I feel weird even making this video because I swear the months go by so freaking fast and I just can't even like understand how just life is going so fast. I don't know. I feel like I can't be the only one who feels like literally we blink and it's a new month. So I'm excited to show you guys all of the books that I want to read in June. I feel like summer reads are just like some of my favorites because you guys know I'm a romance girly. So let's get into these books and I hope you guys enjoy. First, we're gonna start off with the popular BookTok books that I want to read. There are only 3, but I feel like they are thick ones. So they'll definitely take some time to get through. The first book is Ghosted by J.M. Darhauer. I don't even really know what this book is about. I think it's about like a couple, I think they were like friends when they were younger or something, and then he ends up becoming like a famous like Hollywood artist or something, and I think they get reconnected. I don't even know. I just have heard that this is a really good book. I've literally heard people talk about it on BookTok 1,000,001 times, and I feel like it was really popular like a few years ago, so I'm really excited to read this one. I feel like I don't really care too much about the synopsis after I read it for the first time. Like, I don't know if anyone else is like that, but like usually I'll read the book, like the back of the book or the synopsis, like right when I buy it, and then after that I'm like, okay, I trust Past Shaughnessy that she picked out a good book. I also want to read Love Letter to Whiskey, and I actually put this in my vacation TBR. Never got around to it, and I don't think that I'm going to get around to it, so I'm going to just throw it into my TBR for next month. I have so many books that I still plan on reading for the rest of this month, but I am really excited to read this because it is a book that has been talked about so much, and I feel like I've been on the hunt for a 5-star read. My last 5-star read was This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, and then my 5-star read before that was Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings, and those are the 2 5-star reads that I've had for the entire year. So I feel like coming into halfway through the year, like I am just itching for another 5-star read. There have definitely been some books that are very close, and you guys will see that in my wrap up of this month because there have just been a lot of really good books that are like so close to being 5-star reads but just like don't really give the 5-star feeling. So I'm hoping, crossing my freaking fingers, that this is gonna be a 5-star read, and maybe I'll find a 5-star read by the end of this month. I don't know, but this just looks like a really good book. I've heard that it's very heartfelt, and this says that he was my best friend, I was his, we couldn't be together, but we couldn't stand to be apart, and if you're not truly lovers, but you're so much more than friends, what exactly are you? So that alone just makes me want to read that book. And then the last book that is like a BookTok like favorite is Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I've never read this, but I keep gravitating towards this at Barnes & Noble, and I think I keep gravitating towards it because it was re-released with a new cover, but I just like do not want to buy another book that I literally already own. I think that this book for me is one that it doesn't really like catch my attention because the size, it is very large and it's also very stiff. Like, look at that, literally not bending or anything. Like, I mean, I'm gonna have to break the spine. I'm gonna have to break the spine and I'm just gonna have to be okay with it. But yeah, this book right here is one that I feel like I've heard so many people talk about. I think it's football romance. It says 4 years have dreamt of what college life could bring, and while some things changed, there was always one constant. It didn't matter how wild I allowed my imagination to run. It always led me to the same place in the end. It led me to him. My future was clear and he was it until suddenly he wasn't. Now I'm a shell of who I was on a path too blurry to follow, and I see no way out, no way up. They say first loves last forever. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. So excited to read this one. I will say that BookTok books can sometimes be extremely overhyped, so I feel like only adding in 3 is like a safe bet, because I feel like this month has been a great reading month for me because I've read so many books that I haven't heard anyone talk about, and or like I've heard maybe one person talk about, but like not a ton. And it's not like a super hyped up book. There's only a few reviews. And so I kind of go into it with like more of a blind like eye to the book. Like I don't really have super high expectations. I've also read some new releases. So I think that has just helped me so much have like a really good reading month versus like going into these 3 books. I have very high expectations because like so many people have talked about it, you know? So that's the only thing about BookTok books. I feel like sometimes they can be very overhyped and like they're maybe a great read, but they're not like incredible, you know? So comment below if you've read any of these books that I share in this video, please, 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 because I genuinely look for your comments. Like, if you've said you've read something that you loved, I genuinely look for your comments to decide like which books I want to read first. And then the next stack of books, which is kind of surprising for me, are these thrillers. I have 4 or 5 thrillers that I want to read this month. And I have so many because I read Finding My Way Out of Darkness this month, and it kind of got me into the thriller kick. And then I read a book by Lucinda Berry, which also like really made me realize how much I have like been missing out on thrillers. And I have so many great ones that are on my shelf that I've heard great things about. So I've never read anything from John Mars. It says Nina can never forgive Maggie for what she did, and she can never let her leave. I don't even know like what this book is really about. But John Mars is an author I've heard just writes incredible thrillers. He wrote The One, which is also on my TBR, but I haven't read that one. And you guys know how I am about reading books that are super hyped up. Like, I have such a hard time reading like super hyped up books. Like, I don't know what it is. So I can usually read like another book by the author that's not hyped up. And then if I like the writing or something, I'll be like, okay, I can read the hyped up book. I don't know what that's about, but I feel like this is a good introduction, hopefully, into John Mars's writing. So I feel like this will be a good start for like stepping my toe into his thrillers. I also have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I think this has been on my TBR once before and I never read it, but I also think I wasn't really in the mood for thrillers. I am weird when it comes to my mood for thrillers. Like, I'm a huge mood reader, which is why I never actually get through my entire TBR. I always end up picking like other books that I want to read. Sometimes I'll like get books from the library, or I'll buy books, or I'll just like grab another one off my shelf that is like a new book that I haven't read yet, and it literally depends on my mood. And so whenever I read Finding My Way Out of Darkness, I was like, ooh, I miss thrillers. Then I read a thriller, ate it up in like 24 hours. I was like, okay, I need another and another and another. And I feel like that's kind of how I am with just like everything, or books at least. So I have a lot of thrillers on here, but like, we'll see if this thriller mood even sticks. Like, I used to read way more thrillers than I do now. And I think it's just because I got on a romance kick and I hadn't really been reading incredible thrillers. So I was like, I don't know, like, do I even really want to hop into a thriller? Because I actually have never rated a thriller higher than 4 stars, and I think it's because the books to me are so good, so like, you know, you eat them up, you gobble them up, but I feel like I don't connect to the characters in the same way I do for a romance, because I assume everyone's bad, so I can't really like trust anyone. And I feel like trust in like the characters is a big part of like why I enjoy the books, because I'm like rooting for someone. So I feel like I also wasn't picking up thrillers because I was like, okay, I know that most of these probably are not going to be 5 stars, but who knows? Maybe I'll find a 5-star thriller. I don't know. Comment below if you guys have read 5-star thrillers and have some you would recommend. Like, some that I absolutely love, like Never Lie by Frida McFadden, and The Teacher by Frida McFadden, and The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, and The Couple Next Door by Cherie Lapina, and Everybody's Lying by Cherie Lapina. Like, all these thrillers that I love, recommend, and like so many people are obsessed with, still didn't rate them even like higher than 4 stars. So excited to read this. I don't even really know what it's about. It says Sisters, Strangers, Survivors. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I feel like I really, really, really like to go into thrillers blind, probably more than any other genre. Then I also have a book by Brandon Massey. I've never read anything by him, but I've talked about A Dose of Books, her Instagram, 1,000,001 times, and I'm going to talk about it again because she gives the best thriller recommendations on TikTok and on Instagram. Go follow her. Like, genuinely, go follow her. I get so many of my thriller recommendations from her, and they never miss. Like, I never pick up a book and I'm like, oh, like, I didn't like this one. Like, they always hit, and I feel like that's so hard. And she also shares, like, thrillers by Black authors, and I just feel like I just have to put you guys on to her videos. So this book was actually a recommendation from her. I don't really know what this is about. I think it's about like a landlord who, I mean, obviously the landlord, but I think it's about a landlord who's like bad or something, and then like the tenants are like scared of him or something. I don't even know. Like, I really don't even know, and I'm just gonna like leave it at that. So that's the only, like, thrillers are the only thing that I'll like really, really go into blind. Like, I think I just bought this book after she was like, oh my god, it's good, and I'm like, bet, I'll put it like, you know, on my shelf. And then I picked up The Daughter by Lucy Dawson. I've never read anything by this thriller author, and I also haven't heard a ton of people talk about this author either, but I am really trying to pick up authors who I've never read from before, because I have done that so much this month, probably more than I ever have, and it has like paid off so well. Now, there have been months where I picked up books by authors that I don't know, I had never read from before, and I didn't like their writing, and I feel like that kind of deterred me from like picking up more books by new authors or authors that are like new to me, because I was like, well, what if I don't like them? So then I would stick with like the same authors, which is fine, but like I really want to continue to broaden my horizons. So this book says, you lost your daughter, you will never forgive yourself, and now someone wants to make you pay. And it's supposed to be like a twisty thriller that's like gripping and like all the things for a thriller. Then I also have A Flicker in the Dark, and this is a book that I think a lot of people have talked about. I feel like this is a very popular thriller. I don't even know what it's about, like I genuinely don't, but it is the floppiest, the perfect type of thriller. Like perfect. I will say that, I don't know if I'm the only one who's like this, but I actually like hardback thrillers better than I like paperback thrillers. And honestly, I like some hardback romances better than I like paperback romances. I don't know why, but I'm just like that. Don't even really know what this is about, truly, but we are gonna hop into that and hop into it blind, because we don't really need to know what thrillers are about. They're thrilling. I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat, hopefully, and hopefully they're all gonna be good. And then I also have 2 queer reads here that I want to read. Outdrawn is a book that has been on my TBR for a while, and I genuinely have told you guys 1,000,001 times, I have a hard time reading books by authors that are new to me, and this author I've never read anything from. But I want to read Outdrawn this month, or this coming month, because I've just heard incredible things about this story. I've heard it's so fun, I've heard it's fluffy, heard it's everything that you need in a sapphic romance. And so I'm excited to read this one, and hopefully I actually like pick it up. Someone comment below if you've read it. Like, tell me, is it good? Did you love it? And I'm sure you did. Like, so many people have said that it's incredible. I get so freaking just shaking in my boots reading books by new authors to me. And she has like a hockey romance and like a, I think, basketball romance like book, and literally haven't picked up either of those either, and they are on my bookshelf. I just cannot do it. There's also another author, Alexandria House. I read one book by her, but it took me so long to pick it up, and I'm like, why did I wait so long to do that? So I want to do that more, where I'm like reading books by authors that are new to me, because I feel like you just find great books that way. I also want to read Cupid Calling, and this is by an author who I've heard great things about, and I heard about this book from Mina Reads, and she shares lots of queer reads on her channel. She's also a Black booktuber, and she shared this book and she really loved it. I think she rated it 4 stars, and it's about 30 bachelors, 1 bachelorette, and then it says they shouldn't be falling for each other, because obviously like the bachelor is supposed to fall for the bachelorette, and then like 2 of the contestants end up falling for each other. So I just was like, I need to read this, especially after reading Lipstick and Camera Clicks. I feel like I really liked the reality TV show aspect of a story. I feel like it really like kept the story moving pretty easily, because there was like a plot to kind of follow. So I'm excited about that. And then I also have some new releases, and I have 4 new releases. Now, this was actually released in November, but it hasn't been a year, so I'm still gonna keep it in the new release category. And this book was actually a book that I wanted to read on my vacation, and it wasn't on my TBR for this month, so I'm actually gonna roll it over to my TBR for next month, because I just know I'm not gonna get to it. This says, former childhood enemies Julian and Juniper are forced to work together, but a simple exchange could change everything. He needs help with his case, and she needs a fake boyfriend. I love a fake boyfriend trope. Like, love it, eat it up. Because they always end up falling in love, and it just makes me happy being like, you know, they're like, oh, we don't like each other, like, or we gotta pretend to like each other, like, let's kiss in front of other people, like, you know, so that they think that we like each other, and then they like kiss, and then it's like, oh my god, the butterflies. Like, I just eat that up. I will say my favorite trope is definitely friends to lovers, so having both of those tropes in a book, I feel like could definitely just hit different. Another book is Unsteady. I don't actually know when this was released initially, but I do know that it was re-released with a new cover very recently. It was just put into Barnes. So I've had the old cover on my shelf for so long. And again, this is another one of those books that has no flop. I mean, it does have like a little bit, but like it's pretty sturdy. And I think that's part of the reason why I didn't pick it up. It's a hockey romance. I don't even know what it's about. I did hear Heather, who is a booktuber that I feel like shares so many great book recs. She talked about this book in her April wrap up, and she said that she read this and it reminded her, like gave her the same vibes of Binding 13 and Keeping 13. And she said if you like those books, you will probably like this one because it has like deeper family like issues, and it also has like a very heartfelt story, which sometimes I feel like sports romances are just like so fluffy that it's like it's fun, but like, okay, can we like have some balance here? You know what I mean? Like they don't just play sports, like they have another life outside of sports, and I feel like this is hopefully going to be the perfect balance of that. So I will also link all the booktubers below that I mentioned in this video because I just freaking love, like, I don't know, hyping people up who deserve it, who are giving good book recs. I also wanted to pick up, or wanted to read When I Think of You, and this just came out. I literally was so excited to pick it up in the bookstore. On the back it says, the unexpected spark of two former flames may force them to choose between their dreams and each other in this sweeping second chance romance. And honestly, the thing that made me buy this book was, it says, for ambitious Black girls who dare to live out their dreams in spite of those who said we couldn't. For dreamers and grievers and people who've been made strong by leading heavy lives. That's who this book is for. And that literally gives me chills. Like, I'm not kidding, I just got chills just from that. Like, that is such a powerful, like, forward, is that what it's called? Like for the person who's like reading this, that is so powerful. And this, from the author's note, it says, shortly after I began drafting this novel, I lost my mother. While contending with the loss, I thought a lot about grief and how it affects us. Naturally, potent reflections are parental, and partner loss became a territory. Don't know that word, need to look it up. Need to look it up because your girl can't walk around saying like words that they don't understand. But it says, but still important part of this love story. While I can promise a truly incandescently happily ever after for our main characters, I caution you to proceed knowing that there will be moments of painful reflection that may be difficult for some. And that intro is just so beautiful. And you guys know I've went through a lot of loss, a lot of grief, and I feel like books like this, or just books pertaining to grief but not about grief, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to read like a self-help book about grief right now. Like, I'm not in the space to do that just to like solely reflect on grief. But I feel like reading books where the characters are going through grief, I feel very validated in my feelings. And so like reading Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings, and reading, what was another book that I read? I feel like I read another recent book that also had grief in it. Was it Love You Always by Lauren Lacey? I think. I can't remember. I could be off. But there are some other ones that I read that like I just was like, I get this. Like, this is... Oh, The Air He Breathes by Brittany Cherry. That was another one where it really showed how grief can like just absolutely wreck you. And I feel like reading books like that make me feel so validated and make me feel a lot less alone without just like solely focusing on that, because obviously there's like a romance in it. So perfect balance. I cannot wait to read this. This is a book that I feel like has creeped up quickly as a most anticipated read because of that like intro. And then another new release that I'm excited to read is The Perfect Ones Are Taken by Taj McCoy. And this says, when Maggie's best friend admits he's in love with her, she'll have to decide whether it's worth giving up something good for something that could be amazing. And it's supposed to be like a rom-com-y, like make you laugh out loud type of story, which I absolutely eat up. And I also read Zora Book's Her Happily Ever After by this author and really enjoyed it. It was about a girl who, it was kind of like she was trying to decide between two different guys, and like honestly both of them were like really good choices, which I feel like when there's like two people to choose from, usually the author's kind of like, okay, you need to pick this one kind of stinks and you're rooting for this guy. Like, no, I feel like she did a great job of showing both guys and like how both of them were great in their own right. And I feel like this is gonna kind of be like that too, because I think the main character, she is like dating a lot, and then her best friend obviously is like, I'm in love with you, and so she has to decide, like, do I want to keep going on these dates, like these guys that I like, or do I want to like lean into this person who's always been here? I don't know. And that is the kind of book that I freaking eat up. And I also recently read a book that I really loved that was a new release, and it made me so excited to hop into more new releases. So I also wanted to share, before I get into like the diverse reads, that I actually picked out a total of 10 diverse reads. And I always do that. Like, I almost always you can almost always guarantee that I'm picking out 10 diverse reads and then 10 books that are just like, you know, maybe thrillers or popular BookTok books or things in other categories. But I really try to make it a point to read diversely, because I feel like, one, reading about like characters that aren't hyped up a lot about is important to me, because, and not me about to go on a tangent, but I've shared a lot of like TikToks and stuff and like videos, and so many people are very supportive and so many people are not. And a lot of people ask like, well, why do you read books by Black authors? Like, why, like, do you have to focus on race? Like, why do you have to, why? To me, it's important because I see myself in those characters, but other people are not reading those books, and so it's very hard to find recommendations. And honestly, I will wait. Literally tell me a booktuber that you know who is a large booktuber who, and by large I mean like larger than me, like over 50K like friendships that they hang out with on the internet, and is talking about diverse reads. Like, I will literally wait, because there are so few. Even when I literally went on TikTok the other day and was looking for books by Black authors in like a specific like type of book, and the video I created popped up first, and I was like, I made this like a couple months ago. So I'm creating, hopefully, videos and creating like a curated list of books for people who are not able to find the recommendations that they need. And so not only do I want to read diversely by Black authors to see myself, but I also want people to be represented in their cultures as well, and me to learn about their cultures too. And so reading about just so many other communities, I feel like, helps me to learn about communities I'm not a part of, helps me to have grace for them, helps me to have more empathy for their community, because I can better understand why maybe they feel the way they do about certain things, or why they do the things that they do in those communities. Like, I just think it is so important. So I did have a question, or someone asked a question, they said, is reading books by Black authors reading diversely for me? And the answer is yes. And the reason is because reading diversely goes beyond just like, it's hard to even like explain. Let's go. We're just gonna do a little lesson, okay? Just a real quick one. So when I talk about reading diversely, I don't just mean in someone's skin color or culture. I feel like reading diversely can also go so much deeper than that. Like, deeper than the BookTok books, the popular BookTok books, the books that people aren't talking about, the books that aren't the classics. I feel like reading diversely can really encompass so many different things, but really it boils down to reading things that aren't freaking popular, or reading things that are not just like in every bookstore or on every shelf. And you guys will see me talk about how I read books that are about body diversity, where people's bodies look different than mine. That is reading diversely. Or obviously reading different cultures, that is reading diversely, but reading about areas that are not like aren't really like the Midwest. Like, reading about cities and towns and cultures that are like so different from where I live is reading diversely for me. And I want to encourage you guys just to like try to pick up books that are diverse to you, and I feel like you will really appreciate it later on, and you will learn so much about yourself, and you'll learn so much about the world around you. And now I will hop off my soapbox. So let's get into the diverse reads that I want to read. First one is Terms of Inheritance. I don't even know what this is about. It just looked cute. I bought it because the cover is cute, and that's literally why I bought it. It says, what comes first in this business, duty, freedom, or love? I actually own the second book in this series, and part of me was like, maybe I should give it away, but I'm like, why would I literally do that? I literally don't know why I even thought about doing that. So I'm genuinely like flabbergasted why I even thought about doing that. Like I don't even know where that came from, but I'm gonna read this month, hopefully this coming month. I also am going to read All At the End of It All by Ray Lease. This is a basketball romance. Couldn't tell you anything else about it. I do think that this book only has a few reviews on like Goodreads, so definitely check it out. It's about an NBA star. I mean, that's all you need to know. And then I also want to read Whiskey River, which this is a black cowboy romance. And honestly, say less right now because I want to read more like cowboy romances, specifically black cowboy romances, because I've read so many cowboy romances that are very popular on like BookTok and stuff, and I think that those are great, but I also feel like I want to, again, just have a different storyline than I feel like I would see with other characters, like reading Flawless by Elsie Silver, reading Done and Dusted by Layla Sage. Great books. They're cowboys. I just want to read something a little different. So this one says, welcome to Whiskey River, Oakland Brim and Sacred Monroe open up the series in what for them begins as a fake relationship. Oh my gosh! I was literally just talking about that. While Sacred hopes that pairing with a good girl will assist in polishing up his reputation, Oakland is using his popularity for business purposes only. At least that's what she has to keep telling herself. Real or fake, the two are enjoying the friendship they're building. Some might say a little too much. Wow, it looks cute. It looks cute, it looks quick, it's fast, it's fluffy, it's less than 300 pages. I'm sold. I also have some trips coming up in June, so we're gonna probably have like another little video where I pick through these books to take with me, like what I'm gonna take with me on vacation. It'll be interesting to see like what I decide. I'm also gonna read Drunk on Love by Tay Monet. The first sentence says, what would you do if you woke up married to a stranger? I'm sold. Absolutely sold, and also the cover's super cute. I feel like that always gets me. This is also by an author who has not gotten a lot of hype. I think that the reviews of this book, there's only like 80 or 100 or something like that, I think. Also want to read The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. I read How to Fail at Flirting by this author, really loved it, and I don't really read a ton of like BWWM books. That's like Black Woman, White Man, which is kind of wild because my husband's literally white, but I think it's because I just haven't found authors who are sharing like those types of stories. But again, I love reading diversely and reading about different types of relationships. And I am excited to read this because I read How to Fail at Flirting, loved it, and I feel like she will do this justice because of the other book that I read that I loved, rated at 4 stars. It was so cute. This says, Britta didn't plan on falling for her personal trainer, and Wes didn't plan on Britta. Plans change, and it's unclear if love, career, or both will meet them at the finish line. Freaking cute. And another book that I want to read is Chaser, and this is actually by an author whose book was on my TBR for this month, and it was a thick one, and I did not get to it, and I don't think that I'm going to. And I feel like this one is a little less daunting than the other book, and since I've never read anything from this specific author, I feel like it'll be great for me because if I like the writing, I'm gonna like read the other one, you know? Like, hopping into a book that's like 500 pages by an author that you've never read from before is scary. So if there's a smaller like option, I feel like this is a good one for that. And this book is less than 300 pages, which I think is great. This says Shayla Saint, I think this actually might be a cowboy romance too, now that I think about it. It says Shayla St. Pierre, yes, one of those St. Pierres is thriving. She lives her life on her terms and makes no apologies. When her best friend lands into trouble, she does what any friend would, packs a bag and hops on a private plane and enters a world where the men are bold, bad A, and built for sin. When she decides to add one of them to her charcuterie board of lovers, she finds Xavier Alexander wants to be more than a snack. He wants to be the whole dang meal, not an option. Xavier Alexander grew up in a world where a man's character meant more than what he did for a living. After his father lost the family ranch, Xavier left the land he loved to conquer the world of business and take back what was stolen, plus interest. Putting morals first has earned him a goody two-shoes reputation, but those who underestimate him do so at their own peril. Like Shayla St. Pierre, her friends with benefits proposal is a generous offer, but his counter sent her running, believing he won't pursue. Let that woman go, not an option. Forces from Xavier's past and Shayla's attraction to danger threaten to tear them apart. but will betrayal ruin them first? That is all 20 books that I want to read during the month of June. I am still just absolutely flabbergasted that it's almost June, but I'm excited because I have more books to read. Please comment below which books you've read that I share in this video, but also comment below the books that you're planning on reading. I just love hearing like the books that you guys have loved in the past, because I feel like it gets me excited for, I don't know, just like the books that are on my TBR, but also I love hyping you up. Like if you have books on your TBR that you're planning on reading, I love being like, oh my God, I've read that, you're gonna love it. Or like, you know, you should read this one first, like it's so good. So let me know what you're reading and also let me know which books you've read, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.